Alright guys, welcome back to VALORANT News. The two teams that will be attending Brazil for the Ascension qualifiers very shortly indeed from North America have been confirmed. The two teams we expected all season long. DSG released their entire roster. Sgares gives his thoughts on the matter and says the players pretty much let Toast down on this one and hopes that he will come back for next year. Very much intrigued to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. First of all, wanted to run through from Noyan here, his kind of not bagger door anymore, but team of the playoffs. He gives it to Demon 1, and then a couple of guys from Loud, of course, as expected, with Crashies in there as well. Demon 1 also wins his Rookie of the Year for the Americas, which I think is absolutely justified ever since this guy came in, did a stellar job, and thankfully is there in Tokyo to perform in front of the crowd. So very much looking forward to that. And also Loud Less wins the Most Valuable Player of the Year, which I think is also very much understandable. So looking forward to Masters Tokyo, coming up very shortly indeed, actually, just a few days away now. Speaking of challenges, Rostermania, GMD says from TSM officially a restricted free agent. This is the conversation we're having. Some teams, such as we saw Mad Lions, release their entire roster. Salarying them from an extra few months doesn't make any sense, so they're just going to release the whole team. For some teams, though, they might feel that keeping those players around as restricted free agents is a more beneficial idea. They could continue to pay GMT, and they will do if he's a restricted free agent, as in his contract is continuing, but he's not being released. They might have to pay him a bit of extra salary for a couple of months, but if they feel like they can sell him to another team, get a buyout for him, it actually might make more sense to do that. And this is the question with Moist Moguls now going forwards. After failing to qualify, we'll see in a second, they could release their entire team. I don't think that is Ludwig's and Charlie's plan to do exactly that. And if they don't do that, then they can actually sell those players. They can get buyouts for those players. So for some teams that are actually pretty good, it makes sense probably to keep some of your guys signed and salaried for now so you can try and sell them and then rebuild your team next season. And for some teams, it might not. So there's a debate as to what these teams do at the moment, but GMD wishing him the best going forward. Speaking of Ethan, actually, because that whole team is out there right now in Tokyo, and you would imagine this new agent is going to be revealed in Tokyo. It's generally a thing with these agents, not always the case, but usually the new agents are pretty competitive, right? Chamber came in, it was very good. Astra, for example, Neon, less so. Fade, pretty damn good. And Harbor was not so good early on, but is now kind of viable. So still, most new agents are pretty viable, and it's coming soon, this new agent. And Ethan says it's unbelievably good. I'm guessing he's actually seen and played with it a little bit because, as I say, it's probably getting revealed in Masters Tokyo like the day before the finals or something like that anyway. They've done it before. They'll probably do it again here. So have the pros played with it? Will there be some sort of show match with it? They probably have, so I wouldn't exactly say Ethan's making this up. And he reckons that if you thought Chamber was good and those other ones were good, then this is seriously good. So, I don't know, is that an overreaction from Ethan? Surely the new agent can't be as broken as Chamber, but I guess we'll see about that. Let's talk about North American challenges then. So DSG, they officially confirmed yesterday they will be releasing their players and coach from their roster as they reevaluate the future of DSG in the Valorant scene. It's a sad story in a way. In fairness, they formed part of this team before they'd even qualified, right, for the challenger side. They qualified, they made it with Steel in the roster. They brought Ye in down the line as well, who is also, I'm sure, departing with this announcement as well. And look, they were hoping after qualifying for challengers they could at least be competitive. They were briefly, but then it all fell off a cliff, right? And Sgares says, I mean, it was an interesting video that he did here actually discussing his early conversations with Toast and trying to build this roster early on and how difficult it was going to be to do, and Toast commitment, I suppose, to the scene, and also saying that from his perspective, they have been let down here by the players. The players, fundamentally, they might be pretty good, but they didn't work as hard as they should have done to fix and figure out their problems, and certainly looking at some of the play, you can understand this perspective.
He was super optimistic, and he did everything he needed to do for this team to be successful. And I think it sucks to say this as like an ex-player, but I truly feel like the players slightly let him down here. Not like an individual player or performance or anything like that, but just not sticking it through, you know, like quitting on the team kind of thing. Or maybe like there was like, I don't know, just not trying to work things out when they were actually successful in this time frame. You know, like in this time frame, there was clearly some kind of bad stuff happening behind the scenes, which caused some roster changes, and then things spiraled out of control. That really sucks to see. I hope Toast comes back into the scene. I guess the one thing that he can look at as a positive from this whole experience is that there's like a long off season now, and he has a team that he technically doesn't have to keep paying. And when Challengers rolls around next time, he can pick up a new team. You know, there's going to be crazy free agents coming from VCT. I don't know if it's a real possibility he doesn't return, but it sucked to see. Honestly, it really sucked to see. I was watching that stream where he was at Tarek's place, and I was like, this is Sag. It's big Sag.
It also aligns a little bit with this tweet from Ye, right, that he tweeted out after they were relegated. The mistakes that are happening on this team are things that I'm 99% sure ranked players could do better. So, you know, throwing his teammate under the bus to a certain degree, pathetic that we are salaried professionals. So this is what Ye said at the time. Do you agree with Sgares on this one? Obviously, his entire video goes into some more detail, but the idea that, you know, he said they slightly let Toast down. Arguably, they let Toast down more than slightly. I mean, losing all those series in a row was pretty embarrassing, to be honest. I want 2 in 12 or whatever they were series count in the last couple of months. Like, it wasn't pretty, right? So yeah, Ye's going to be out of there. I know that he's still got this as his Twitter profile picture, but that might not last for too much longer. What next to a lot of these players? I think, if anything, this is quite good for DSG. I know that it's sad how it's worked out, and I'm hoping for sure that we get DSG back next year in challenges, mainly because it's been such a boost for challenges. Without DSG, without Moist Moguls, and without Tarek, like, without those two teams, challenges would be very difficult to... People wouldn't really be watching much of it at all without those two teams. And the only reason why they would watch it probably is because of Tarek streaming it, another content creator. So those guys have been really putting challenges on their back, and I think it's been great for the tier 2 scene. And if this team was like mediocre, I think if anything, that would make Toast's decision more challenging, right, as to what he does. At least the way it's worked out, the team was terrible at the end. Like, release everyone, get everyone out of the contracts, don't waste any money in the off-season, and then just come back next year, reevaluate, reconsider, maybe sign a brand new team when they get to the start of the year, right? That's actually going to be pretty good. So I think, honestly, it could be a bit of a blessing in disguise that the team crashed and burned so hard that at least Toast's decision is pretty easy. Get out of here now, maybe do some things in the off-season, come back next year, see what happens. Steel, of course, as well was, I don't want to say unfairly removed, because I guess the team felt like it wasn't working with Steel, and they wanted to try and upgrade and bring Exalt in, but fundamentally that wasn't working. I don't know what Ocean was doing over there as the coach on the team, to be honest, but not making good decisions, I imagine. And Steel says, with this announcement I want to talk about my plans. I still feel very confident as a player and as an IGL that if I can find a team that all believes in me and my system, that we can go far. I love competing and have put competition above every other opportunity. So interesting for Steel every season, right? With players like Steel that have been around for decades, you do wonder whether he's going to say, you know what, maybe it's time to retire, maybe it's time to go into coaching, maybe it's time to go into general management, you know, the Sgares route, for example, and what he's done over the last couple of seasons. But no, Steel is still committed to playing, which I think is definitely commendable. We've also got to mention, though, what happened last night, the Guard versus Moist Moguls. This was, I actually kind of forgot this was a best of 5. If it was a best of 5, I'd have definitely put my money on the Guard winning, just because, you know, that extra little bit does make a difference. And a round like this, for example, for Texas, just shows exactly why. The Guard won game 1. There were some competitive maps here, right? Moist Moguls faked a little bit of a comeback at a time, and maybe it could have happened, but eventually it didn't. The Guard just a little bit too strong, just a little bit too experienced, and for all the discussions around Valorant being unpredictable or whatever, fundamentally, Loud and NRG, two teams that went to Masters Tokyo, and M80 the Guard, the two teams that went to Brazil for the Ascension playoffs, exactly the teams that we expected to right at the start of the season. So congrats to the Guard and co. 3-0 versus Moist Esports in the end. Unfortunate end for those guys after looking so promising, but you know, it's kind of unfortunate that only 2 teams get to go from the Americas, because I would have liked to see what Moist Moguls could do, but fundamentally the teams they lost to M80, they lost to the Guard, so, you know, were they going to win Ascension if they can't beat those 2 teams? Probably not. So, you know, only 1 team wins Ascension anyway, but they're going to make it there. The 2 teams we expected to at the start of the season, as Flyer says, got outclassed in every way possible today. came up with a solid game plan, didn't execute it in the heap in the moment. Proud of what we could accomplish. I think, honestly, a great story from these guys, right? To go where they came from to where they were at this final tournament, being very competitive with M80 and the guard to try and qualify was super commendable. And I do wonder what happens here because, you know, a couple of these guys, they like to Brook and Flyer and co., they might get nicked by top teams. Like, other top teams might come in and say, you know what, I want to sign this guy. So that's a debate for Moist as to whether they keep these guys salaried for now in the intention that maybe they can sell some of these guys on, or they want to not sell these guys on and continue going forwards. So the guard, the second North American Valorant team to qualify through for Ascension, and this was the eventual run, a 3-0 for the guard. They honestly dominated the losers bracket. I was very impressed by them. 13-10 on Ascent. Fracture was, as I say, it could have been competitive, right? Guard won that pistol round, and then Moist Moguls actually made a comeback just to lose anyway, and then Haven was 13-8 in the end. So, you know, some nice performances. It looked like it was going to be okay, but in the end, the guard just a little bit too strong, and that leaves the bracket like this. So, as you might have expected right at the start of the season, the Challengers playoffs ends with M80 and the guard in the grand finals. This, I suppose, matters for seeding and for bragging rights, and probably a bit of prize money as well, but doesn't matter that much in the grand scheme of things. This is just to see, and I actually imagine, right, that M80 and the guard feel they might match up again in the grand finals of the actual Ascension tournament in Brazil. We'll see in just a second here. So they might not want to reveal any strats, they don't have to. But the guard, since losing to Moist Moguls, they went down. They won 7 maps in a row, very impressive from them, and that qualifies them through to this. So in Sao Paulo, Brazil, this is on the 30th of June through to the 11th of July, the Ascension tournament in the Americas. These are the 6 teams that are going to be there. So 2 from Brazil, 1 from LATAM North, 1 from LATAM South. The favourites, I suppose, outside of the North American teams, I believe, are the Union. This team has been particularly good, so they made it through. But still, M80 or the guard from North America are probably going to come in as favourites for this one. So out of these 6 teams, there's a group stages, there's a playoffs, and then in the grand finals here on the 11th of July, that's the really important series where the winner of that, they qualify through to the franchise partnered league. And we now know beyond a shadow of a doubt that it's going to be one of these rosters. Just before we finish out, thought this is pretty cool going into Masters Tokyo. The youngest player, the oldest player, of course, Angel, right, 33, almost 34 actually, and just across the different teams. Apparently we don't even know the average age for Attack and Soul Esports, which is pretty funny. Edward Gaming at 19.6, then Loud, a very young team, DRX Fnatic. The oldest team average is NRG at 25.6 average age, but yeah, most teams averaging at like 21, 22, which is pretty crazy to be fair, but very much enjoyed to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.